The UFC welterweight division has a new and electrifying contender whose explosive potential has even the most seasoned analysts re-evaluating the entire title picture. Michael Morales, with his stunning first-round TKO victory over the highly touted Sean Brady at UFC 322, has forcefully announced his arrival as a legitimate threat to champion Islam Makhachev's reign. While established names like Ian Machado Gary and the inactive Shavkat Rakhmonov dominate the conversation, it is Morales who has injected a new and unpredictable variable into the championship equation, earning a particularly intriguing endorsement from future Hall of Famer Dominick Cruz. Cruz, known for his own unorthodox and cerebral approach to fighting, provided a fascinating breakdown of why Morales presents a unique stylistic puzzle for the dominant Makhachev. "You could give Morales a title shot," Cruz stated unequivocally, before delving into the physical attributes that make the Ecuadorian fighter such an anomaly. "I've seen that guy in the gym, and there's things about him that don't make sense. The way that he moves, I'm telling you, he's a freak gymnast. He can do the craziest things. He can really challenge the strength of Makhachev differently than anybody." This comment points to a key factor often overlooked in Makhachev's matchups: raw, explosive athleticism. While Makhachev has systematically dismantled technicians and strikers with his sambo-based pressure, he is yet to face a welterweight with the sheer, unorthodox physicality and gymnastic agility that Morales possesses. Cruz was careful to note that Morales' technique, particularly in the grappling realm, remains untested against an elite-caliber wrestler and grappler like Makhachev. However, he suggested that Morales' physical gifts could be a great equalizer. Now, Morales is so athletic and so strong that he's able to beat people's technique with power and strength and explosiveness, Cruz observed. The central question of such a matchup would be whether Makhachev's methodical, technically perfect pressure could systematically dismantle and contain Morales' raw, explosive power. Furthermore, Cruz highlighted the often underestimated factor of stance, noting that Makhachev being a southpaw changes the style for Morales as well, adding another layer of complexity to the potential showdown. While Makhachev has expressed a desire to defend his title against the legendary Kamaru Usman, the champion has also stated he will fight any worthy contender. Morales, with his undefeated record and a highlight reel win over a grappler as respected as Sean Brady, has undoubtedly made himself worthy. He represents a high-risk, high-reward challenge for Makhachev, a fighter whose freakish athleticism could potentially disrupt the champion's rhythm in a way no other welterweight has been able to, even if the technical gap on paper still favors the reigning king.
The worlds of global football and mixed martial arts have collided in a monumental business partnership as international soccer icon Cristiano Ronaldo has officially joined forces with UFC lightweight champion Ilia Topuria, becoming a shareholder in Topuria's Spanish MMA promotion, WOW FC. This announcement signals a significant power move that could dramatically alter the landscape of European mixed martial arts, leveraging the unparalleled global fame of Ronaldo to propel the sport to new heights in a key market. The partnership is particularly noteworthy given the recent history between the two superstars. Just last year, Ronaldo found himself in a brief public feud with Topuria after he predicted that Max Holloway would defeat El Matador in their championship bout at UFC 308. That competitive tension has now been transformed into a powerful alliance, demonstrating a shared vision for the growth of the sport. In his announcement, Ronaldo framed the investment as alignment of core values, stating, "I'm excited to share some big news. I will become shareholder of WOW FC MMA. We share values I truly believe in: discipline, respect, resilience, and the constant pursuit of excellence." He further emphasized the promotional potential of the venture, adding, "WOW FC is building something unique and powerful, and I'm proud to join this project to help elevate the sport and inspire the next generation." For Topuria, who became a part owner of the promotion last year with the explicit goal of cultivating MMA talent in Spain, Ronaldo's involvement is a game changer. It injects the organization with instant, massive credibility and a global marketing platform that few entities in all of sports can match. Ronaldo's deep ties to Spain from his legendary tenure with Real Madrid make him an ideal ambassador to help WOW FC tap into the passionate Spanish sporting culture. This major business development arrives concurrently with a pivotal moment in Topuria's own fighting career. Recent reports from insiders close to the champion confirm that he will not be making the first defense of his UFC lightweight title on the anticipated January card, which was slated to be the flagship event for the UFC's new broadcast partnership with Paramount+. Instead, his return to the octagon is not expected until the spring of 2026 at the earliest. This extended hiatus, reportedly due to personal matters, has left the UFC's 155-pound division in a state of limbo. However, while the champion is on a competitive break, he is clearly not resting professionally. This strategic partnership with Cristiano Ronaldo ensures that Ilia Topuria remains at the forefront of the combat sports conversation, not merely as a dominant champion, but as a burgeoning power broker whose influence is now amplified by one of the most famous athletes on the planet.
The UFC's matchmaking decision for the featherweight championship has sparked a firestorm of criticism and debate among fans, who are largely baffled and frustrated by the promotion's apparent choice to book an immediate rematch between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes for the UFC 325 headliner in Sydney. This proposed bout, reported by Australian media figure Benny P, comes as a significant surprise given the clear and compelling alternatives available in the division. Volkanovski, the reigning champion in his second stint atop the 145-pound mountain, is in the twilight of a legendary career, and the consensus among the fan base is that each of his remaining fights should be a fresh, legacy-defining challenge. The fact that the UFC seems to be opting for a rerun of a fight that just occurred in April, and one that Volkanovski won decisively via unanimous decision, has been met with widespread disapproval. The backlash online has been swift and severe, with fans expressing their discontent across social media platforms. The overwhelming sentiment is that this is a case of baffling and backward matchmaking that ignores more deserving contenders. Comments like, "I love Diego, but this is such a joke. Volk's last win was Diego. Such backwards matchmaking." And "nobody wants to see this again," capture the general feeling of disappointment. Many pointed to the undefeated Movsar Evloev, a fighter Volkanovski has himself expressed interest in facing, and the red-hot Lerone Murphy, who scored a spectacular knockout on a major card and was publicly called out by the champion as the obvious and far more intriguing next steps. Critics argue that this rematch undermines the sport's competitive integrity, with one fan stating, "Are the UFC trying to kill the credibility of their sport?" and another lamenting that the promotion is seemingly prioritizing marketable matches over the best possible sporting contests. A smaller contingent of fans has risen to defend the booking, albeit with a more pragmatic and less enthusiastic set of arguments. Their defense hinges on the notion that neither Murphy nor Evloev has a resume strong enough to unequivocally demand a title shot. They point out that Murphy's best win is over a ranked but declining Josh Emmett, and Evloev has been inactive. From this perspective, Lopes, as the most recent #1 contender and a wildly exciting fighter, is the logical choice. Others suggested a more cynical business rationale, noting that Lopes represents the most stylistically exciting and financially viable option, and that a victory for the Brazilian would be better for the division's future marketability than a win for the less established Murphy or the less charismatic Evloev. Despite these defenses, the dominant narrative remains one of letdown, as the MMA community sees a precious fight in the final chapter of Volkanovski's career being used on a rematch that few asked for, leaving more compelling, fresh matchups on the shelf.
The legendary career of Alexander the Great Volkanovski appears to be heading toward its final chapter, with all indications pointing to his upcoming featherweight title defense against Diego Lopes at UFC 325 in Sydney, serving as his retirement fight. This setting offers a storybook conclusion for the Australian icon, allowing him to defend his throne one last time in front of his home crowd in the same city where his UFC journey began nearly a decade ago. The reported choice of opponent, a rematch with the dangerous Diego Lopes, adds a layer of high-stakes drama to this potential farewell. While their first encounter in April saw Volkanovski emerge victorious by unanimous decision, Lopes remains a perennial threat with fight-ending power in every exchange, ensuring that the champion will need to be at his very best to exit the sport on his own terms. This planned retirement brings a profound sense of finality to one of the most dominant reigns in featherweight history. Volkanovski, who reclaimed the title in his second stint after a difficult period, has long been considered one of the greatest 145-pound fighters of all time. A victory in Sydney would allow him to solidify that legacy, walking away as the undisputed champion and closing the book on a career defined by technical brilliance, relentless pressure, and an unwavering fighting spirit. Of course, as is the nature of combat sports, no retirement is truly certain until the fighter is long removed from competition and the fire to compete can always be rekindled. But for now, the plan seems clear. Alexander Volkanovski is preparing to lay his gloves down in the octagon, bringing an end to an era and giving his fans in Australia a final, unforgettable opportunity to celebrate a true national sporting hero.
The roadmap for the UFC middleweight division has been officially laid out by its fearsome and undefeated king, Khamzat Chimaev, who has broken his silence to name Nassourdine Imavov as the first challenger for his throne. Taking to social media, Boers issued a characteristically confident and pointed call-out, signaling his intention to face the French contender in 2026. "See you after Ramadan, Imavov. You have time, work on your wrestling, bratishka," Chimaev posted, a message that simultaneously confirms the matchup and delivers a stinging critique of what he perceives as Imavov's primary weakness. This announcement brings clarity to the 185-pound title picture while also revealing a significant delay, as the champion's return is now contingent on both a minor foot operation and the observance of the holy month of Ramadan, which runs from late February through March 19, 2026. This timeline pushes his first title defense to April 2026 at the earliest, placing the division in a prolonged state of anticipation. The challenger, Nassourdine Imavov, has unequivocally earned this opportunity through a spectacular and calculated run in 2025. He first announced himself as a top-tier threat with one of the most shocking knockouts of the year, flattening the legendary former champion Israel Adesanya in just 30 seconds of the second round in Saudi Arabia. He then followed this career-defining win with a masterful performance in front of his home crowd in Paris, outclassing the previously unbeaten Caio Borralho over 5 rounds in a dominant unanimous decision victory. This 5-fight winning streak, capped with wins over a legend and an elite contender, left no doubt that Imavov was the most deserving candidate for a shot at the belt, a claim he loudly made in his post-fight interview in Paris by pointing directly at the champion's invisible belt and declaring, "I am next." He now faces a champion in Khamzat Chimaev, whose dominance has been historically absolute. Chimaev captured the title by utterly neutralizing the formidable Dricus du Plessis at UFC 319, taking him down within the first 8 seconds and controlling him on the mat for nearly the entire 25-minute fight. This showcased the suffocating wrestling and top pressure that has become his trademark, the very same skill he so openly taunts Imavov to improve. With a perfect 15-0 record, a staggering 100% takedown defense rate, and a history of absorbing almost no damage in his fights, Khamzat Chimaev represents a stylistic nightmare for nearly anyone in the division. The looming championship clash is thus a classic striker versus grappler dilemma, pitting Imavov's sharp technical striking and footwork against Chimaev's otherworldly wrestling and relentless pressure. For now, both men enter a waiting game, with Imavov having several months to, as the champion suggested, work on your wrestling before their scheduled collision in the spring of 2026.
The UFC lightweight division has been plunged into a state of unprecedented uncertainty and quiet chaos, with the reign of its champion, Ilia Topuria, taking a dramatic and unexpected turn that has left the entire weight class in a state of suspended animation. For months, the narrative at 155 pounds was defined by a roaring debate over who would face the formidable El Matador first, with Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, and the relentless Arman Tsarukyan all vocally campaigning for the shot. That cacophony of call-outs has been suddenly silenced. According to a credible report from Elvar Colnero, a journalist with close ties to Topuria's camp, the champion's highly anticipated return has been postponed due to private personal matters, pushing his first title defense from the planned January launch of the UFC's Paramount era all the way to the spring of 2026. This delay is significant enough, but the report contained an even more explosive piece of information. The current #1 contender, Arman Tsarukyan, is reportedly not even in the equation for the eventual title fight. This revelation sends a shockwave through the division's hierarchy, effectively nullifying Tsarukyan's dominant victory over Dan Hooker that was supposed to cement his status as the next challenger. If the most deserving contender is being bypassed, it opens the door for the UFC to make a purely business-driven decision, potentially fast-tracking the massively popular Paddy Pimblett into a title shot against Topuria, a fight both men have expressed interest in. The timing also aligns perfectly with the historic UFC event planned for the White House in June, setting the stage for a blockbuster championship bout on the sport's biggest stage. The extended inactivity has inevitably sparked rumors of a more radical solution, that Topuria may vacate the title altogether to allow the division to move forward. This speculation was fueled by Colnero's cryptic tease that fans will be very surprised at what's going to happen in lightweight. While an insider has since denied the vacating rumor, the very fact that it is being discussed highlights the severity of the logjam. With a champion sidelined for at least the first quarter of the year and the top contenders seemingly cast aside, the UFC faces a difficult choice. They could introduce an interim championship to create momentum, but that would undermine Topuria's reign before it even truly begins. Alternatively, they can allow the entire lightweight division to remain frozen, its contenders left with no clear path forward, held hostage by the personal circumstances and long-term strategic plans of a champion who operates on his own timeline. For now, the once buzzing lightweight title picture has been put on ice, leaving fans and fighters alike to wonder not just who Topuria will fight, but if and when the division will ever regain its momentum.
The UFC's lightweight division, typically a whirlwind of activity and ambition, has been plunged into a state of frustrating uncertainty and stalled momentum following the confirmed hiatus of its champion, Ilia Topuria. With El Matador officially sidelined for the first quarter of the year to address pressing personal matters, the entire 155-pound title picture has been frozen in place, leaving a queue of hungry contenders in a state of limbo, with their championship aspirations put on indefinite hold. The vacuum at the top has exposed the conflicting agendas and volatile politics at play, creating a complex puzzle for UFC matchmakers to solve. At the heart of this stalled landscape are two of the division's most prominent and outspoken figures, the beloved brawler Justin Gaethje and the polarizing rising star Paddy Pimblett. According to UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier, the promotion's initial plan to navigate Topuria's absence was to book a high-stakes showdown between these two. "I know for a fact that they wanted to do Paddy versus Justin," Cormier revealed, framing the bout as a logical title eliminator. He argued that a decisive victory over a proven elite veteran like Gaethje would provide the final piece of credibility needed to justify a title shot for Pimblett, whose rapid ascent, while impressive, has left some questioning his readiness for a savant like Topuria. "A win over Justin after what Paddy's done already, now I would have bought Paddy fighting for the belt right now," Cormier admitted, while also noting the sheer scale of the challenge, stating, "Ilia is a different beast, he's a savage." However, this seemingly logical matchmaking solution has hit a formidable roadblock: Justin Gaethje's outright refusal to participate. The highlight has been unequivocal in his position, publicly stating he has no interest in fighting Pimblett, and more dramatically, threatening to retire if he is not granted the next title shot. This ultimatum creates an almost impossible situation for the UFC. Gaethje, one of the most exciting and respected fighters in the sport's history, feels he has earned his place at the front of the line and views a fight with Pimblett as a step backward. Pimblett in turn has fired back, labeling Gaethje a proper "buh" for his stance and arguing that no one's owed nothing in the fight game. This leaves the division in a precarious holding pattern. With Topuria out and Gaethje unwilling to fight anyone but the champion, the path forward is murky at best. The UFC could force Gaethje's hand, potentially leading to his retirement, or they could bypass him entirely for an interim title fight between Pimblett and another contender, a move that would undoubtedly create more controversy. For now, the lightweight throne sits empty in practice if not in name, and the fighters left circling it are left with little to do but wait and trade verbal barbs, their futures entirely dependent on the resolution of a champion's personal life and the stubborn principles of a former interim champion.
For years, prominent voices within the sport, most notably longtime commentator Joe Rogan, have passionately advocated for the creation of additional weight classes, specifically a 165-pound division, to mitigate the dangerous practice of extreme weight cutting and to create more logical competitive brackets. The current situation with Topuria and the welterweight champion Islam Makhachev presents a perfect use case for such a change. Both men are champions in adjacent divisions, and a fight between them is one of the most coveted in the sport. However, a catchweight fight is often messy from a rankings perspective, and for Topuria to move up to 170 pounds to challenge Makhachev presents a significant size disadvantage. This is where the fan theory gains its compelling logic. The widespread hypothesis, now trending across social media platforms, is that the UFC will resolve this dilemma by introducing a 165-pound weight class. The proposed scenario is as follows. Topuria would vacate the 155-pound lightweight title, and Makhachev would vacate the 170-pound welterweight title. They would then meet in a historic super fight to crown the inaugural 165-pound champion. The stakes could not be higher. The winner would instantly become the first fighter in UFC history to hold belts in 3 different weight classes, a legacy-defining achievement that would dwarf even the accomplishment of being a 2-division champion. This blockbuster event would be a monumental way to launch the new weight class and would be a perfect centerpiece for a landmark card such as the rumored White House event in the summer of 2026. This theory stands in stark contrast to UFC CEO Dana White's historical resistance to adding new men's divisions, though he has recently shown openness to a women's 105-pound class. The unique circumstances surrounding 2 dominant champions in Topuria and Makhachev, combined with the long-standing fan demand, may have finally created the perfect storm for the promotion to break with tradition. While nothing is official, the cryptic nature of the updates from Topuria's camp, the clear logic of the proposed solution, and the overwhelming consensus from the fan base all point toward one startling and exciting possibility. The UFC as we know it is about to get a new weight class, and in doing so, will create a fight for the history books.